Hi, it's Waterloo Regional Police Service calling. Your phone is dialed into 911. If you're having an emergency, call back on 911. Call for service has been generated to check on your well-being if you don't have an emergency. So anyone in the public who dials 911 is going to come in to this call center, whether they need police, fire, or ambulance. And then anyone who needs help from the police, specifically who calls on a non-emergency line, is going to come in through this comm center as well. So communicators here are kind of like the first point of contact for an emergency, in a way making them the first responders.
And he's walking beside the rail tracks. And do you say there is a fire started or no? So you did see flames popping up. That's why you think he's trying to start a fire? Okay. So everyone is a communicator, but then under that title, there's call taker and dispatcher. So the call taker is the one who's the first point of contact, who's actually on the phones, speaking to people who call into 911 or call into dispatch. And then the dispatcher role is when you're on the radio with the officers, getting them out to respond to the calls. So everyone is a communicator, but you're either a call taker or a dispatcher, depending on the day and your training level.
Headquarters South 71 Delta. Are you 10-4 on your stop? 10-4. I prefer dispatching. It's a more dynamic job, I would say. It's a lot of multitasking and a lot of things being thrown at you at once. It's just, I would say it's slightly more challenging, but in a different way.
You have to be on your toes, paying attention constantly. You can't be distracted because if you're looking somewhere else, you can miss a hot call on your screen and it can sit there for a couple minutes. And those couple minutes are key to getting people life-saving help or catching the subjects in it, so we can actually get them arrested. So quicker the response, the better. Units heading to the 933 complainants calling about their roommate. He texted the complainant saying he was abducted, he's having panic attacks, and they're putting his stuff in the car to drop him off at the side of a road. So I originally went to college for graphic design, and I figured out that wasn't the course that I wanted to take, and I was looking into paramedics, but personally I can't handle gore. I can't even watch scary movies. So when I was speaking to the guidance counselor at my college, they suggested this as a program because I didn't even know about it, but I went to Durham College and they offered 911 emergency and call center communications, longest program name ever. But I did that. It was a 2-year program, and I got certifications with APCO for fire, police, and medical dispatch. And then I worked in security for a bit, and then came here.
Okay. Do you have him with you? Okay. Are you going to be able to keep him there, do you think? Okay. And he's not injured at all? Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to let you go. The officers are driving down. They're going to be maybe 2 or 3 minutes, something like that. If he gets away from you or anything else changes, I want you to call us back, okay? Okay. The most rewarding aspect of the job for me is when you get to respond to someone's crisis on the phone, and the rare instance where you get to have a positive outcome for them because of an action that you took. So sometimes that's just calming someone down on the phone before police or ambulance response. Or sometimes that's when you feel like you did a good job, you got the information you needed for the officers to respond, and they make an arrest, for example, for something like that. That's, for me, the most rewarding, is when you get to see that what you did had a positive impact on someone.
Yeah, so it was a black pickup truck. Did you get the make, model, or marker? Okay. No, that's okay. Yeah. And you said there was 3 men in the truck, or that got into the truck? All right, so we'll send officers out to check the area, see if we can locate that vehicle. Okay, you just can head home if that's what you're doing. And recently I did take a call where they weren't able to speak, but I could hear in the background what sounded like someone saying, empty the register, give me the cash, that sort of thing. So I started it just at the location where the call was coming in at, because there was a convenience store there. And then they ended up going there, and it was a robbery in progress when they got there. So they were able to get there and apprehend the suspect in that scenario. And that was a good example of someone calling 911 on their phone, but not being able to actually speak because they weren't in a place of safety. So they just dialed just to try to get help. And then just based on what I could hear in the background, I was able to kind of determine what was happening and be able to get officers there right away.
Just confirming you're good there. I called over the air. You just didn't respond. Okay. What's your current location, just so I can note it down? At the end of the day, we are dealing with people's lives, so it can be very stressful, especially dispatching. You have a higher focus on officer safety as well as the safety of the public.
You just always want their location in their location status bar to reflect where they actually are. Again, just in case they are in a dangerous situation and need help, you want to know where they are. You don't have time to read through your call and say, oh, right, she was supposed to be going here, so this is where I should send help. Because in those situations, like, every second matters. A lot of the job is planning, but at every few minutes, your plans have to change, and you have to constantly adapt to the different things that are taking place. You could have a plan for every call on your screen, but then you have one incident that takes a bunch of your resources away, and you have to make a new plan. And then that just keeps happening over and over and over through the course of a whole shift.
When you first start, it's really intimidating because you're talking to the public and you're fielding they can be very in-progress emergency calls from people who need help, like, right now, and that can be stressful. But within the training period, you begin to realize that there's definitely a form that all calls will take, and your response to all the calls is more or less the same. So you sort of start to learn not to let the caller's stress impact you.
So you're kind of improved your relationship with your own nervous system.
You do, and I think that's one of the more interesting parts of this particular job is the self-development and self-knowledge aspect. In order to be successful, especially when you get to the radio, where you're more responsible for responding to emergencies by sending resources directly to it, you learn to control yourself better, and you get to know yourself a lot better as a person and how you process stress. It's kind of cool.
Okay, fair enough. And does he have any developmental disabilities at all? Any drug or alcohol dependencies? So he seemed normal for him, like at his baseline yesterday, he seemed okay? Okay. Well, I think it just makes you a little bit more compassionate with people, a little bit easier to converse with people in a sense, just because you talk to so many different people from so many different walks of life or going through so many different situations every day. So I think just in like a social setting outside of work, it just makes it much easier to kind of understand people or speak to people kind of on a personal level.
For call taking especially, you have to be able to take the calls where they're in their most heightened state. They've called 911. Worst thing they can think of is happening to them. You have to get them down from that screaming, crying, yelling state down to a conversation where we can actually talk to you and get the information from you. So being able to actually calm people down is key, which a lot of the time is we help people just breathe. It's hard. Like, we have such a variety of people. In my hiring class, there was an accountant, there was a vet tech, there was a church pastor, and I think I was the only person that actually went to college for it. So really, as long as you are good with talking with people, you're good at handling stress, good at working under pressure, especially if you thrive under pressure, and that's when you work your best, this is the best job for you.
And when you say harassing people that you know, what do you mean by that exactly? I've really enjoyed it so far. I really, really love it, what we do here. The challenging part of it is just speaking to people. Obviously, they're calling in sometime, like most of the time on their worst day, when people are calling into 911. A lot of people are very escalated. You have to deal with a lot of people that are going through a mental health crisis, or people that are under the influence of something, or people that, are experiencing some sort of trauma. So that's probably the hardest part of the job. But it's also really rewarding because when you're call taking or dispatching, you're there and you're like a first responder being able to help people and be able to help your community.
Headquarters, all units, stand by for a 979 subject to locate. Subject is described as a white male in his late 20s with a thin build. He's 5'6" to 5'8", wearing a black baseball cap, a camo hoodie, black sweatpants, and a backpack. I like this job because it is so dynamic and because it's not the same thing every day. We deal with different things every day in different situations every day. And I think you can go your whole career and still at the end of, your 30 years, still deal with something you've never dealt with before. So I find that it's just nice to come to work and be challenged and not kind of just like going through the motions.